All right, everybody. Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Wednesday night on the eve of the NFL start. How you doing, Eric?
Yeah, how's it going, man? You said on the eve. I was feeling almost like Christmas Eve. Today, it's
Oh yeah.
the time has come. We got some crazy basketball news on top of it, but things are starting to heat up.
Ooh, do we got some juicy basketball news? Just when you
Oh
thought
yes.
there is nothing going on in basketball, Pablo Torre drops a bombshell this morning. All right, guys, before we get started, let's take care of some things. I am the game injury doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries. On my right is Eric B. Mack. We are the host of the Hoops Rehab Show. You can find us at our handles down below on all social media platforms. And you can find our show on YouTube at the Hoops Rehab Show. Please hit that subscribe button if you are watching live right now. And also on Twitter, we are live right now, so you can follow both Game Injury Doc and Eric B. Mack on those platforms. Tomorrow we'll be releasing the podcast in case you missed this live show. So again, wherever you get your podcast, that is the Hoops Rehab Show. Please rate and comment on the podcast. Let us know how we're doing. We would greatly appreciate that so we can reach more of the masses, especially with the NFL season starting and the NBA getting started as well. All right, Eric, let's get this cracking with this breaking news story of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, what were your thoughts, especially waking up to this? What kind of bombshell this really was?
Yeah, it was a bombshell. It remains to be seen what really comes from it. We're going to get into it, and we know the Clippers have come out with a statement and things like that, in terms of kind of denials and things. But yeah, I think, you and I have been talking in the last couple of weeks about just really trying to come up with any basketball topics, because this time of the year, there's just not a lot going on. Free agency's done. Obviously the draft last season, and so this is that time where it's kind of like the calm before the storm, and storm came a little early for us this morning. And so what did you know, the good old Clippers, Steve Ballmer, kind of like that wink wink deal. Kawhi in the summer of 2019 had some options, and that's been very well documented. Him staying in Toronto after winning a championship, him potentially coming to the Lakers, joining LeBron James and Anthony Davis, or joining kind of like, it was kind of the underdog option. And so, yeah, it came out of left field. Pablo Torre, he's a well-respected journalist. He was working on this investigative reporting for 7 months, apparently, where he found that it appears that the Clippers may have circumvented the salary cap. They gave some extra dough to Kawhi Leonard via kind of a bogus endorsement, I guess, if you will. And so, yeah, it is pretty interesting. What did you think when you first saw it?
Clippers gonna clip, man. I mean, that was my first thought.
Yeah,
No, to be honest with you, the first thing I thought was Uncle Dennis in 2019. So
grimy.
that's all I could kind of think about. Was I just remember hearing all these rumors about how he wanted a plane. He wanted part ownership of the team. He wanted extra endorsement deals, and these are things that were brought to the Lakers and the Raptors. And I remember the Lakers, Jeannie Buss, responding that that stuff is illegal and we cannot do that. So that's part of the reason why, when you think about when he didn't even have that meeting with Magic, we got frustrated that he just canceled that meeting. Could that have been the reason? We won't know for sure. And I honestly hope that this kind of news that broke is not true, because that's not what we want to see in this league, because that's going to come with a lot of penalties if it is true.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, we don't want to sit here and be naive to the fact that I don't want to say this happens all the time because it probably doesn't, but there's got to be a little bit of creativity when it comes to contracts. We know the NBA in particular, there's a salary cap. There's X amount of dollars you could spend on a player, and you can't go more. And it's pretty set on their tenure. If you've been with a particular team and you're resigning with them, going to another team, it's pretty structured. And so, yeah, will we find out? Will this kind of open the doors to other things? And maybe it's something that the NBA will not want to really get into? Or will it be as big as it kind of is portrayed to be, where Clippers are denying it, but Pablo Torre, the reporter, he's just kind of stating things that he investigated. He talked to 7 former employees of the company. What was it called again?
Aspiration.
And he did they blurred the face. But that person kind of was like, yep, like we were told that this was basically like a bogus endorsement deal to circumvent the salary cap and things like that. And so obviously people can say stuff that's untrue. Doesn't mean everything that is said by an individual means, that doesn't mean that it's true or not, but it just makes you think like what those people would have to gain from it. Especially if they're not really to be out there. And so, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It could be something that's kind of brushed under the rug. But I think it's a little too early to tell. We have one side of the story, and then we have the Clippers saying the exact opposite. And I assume something's going to be found out real soon here, or at least relatively soon.
Yeah, Pablo Torre really went on a deep dive and has been working on this for a long period of time. So obviously
Really
he's getting some receipts that he has. He has people that he's interviewed. So there's probably some level of corruption there. Now the company Aspiration is one that's full of fraud, right? So they completely have gone bankrupt and been accused of fraud. And the co-founder, Joseph Sandberg, has now pleaded guilty, defrauding multiple investors, including Clippers and some other celebrities and things like that. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. That we got a company that is completely scam worthy, committed fraud in that fashion. So I can't 100% say like, hey, this is it. It sounds like it's definitely cut dry, right? Like Kawhi did this, and Uncle Dennis did this, and the Clippers did this. Now you get all you can do is give facts. And the other thing is that the Clippers and Steve Ballmer were fined early back in 2015 for the DeAndre Jordan contract, and they gave him an extra endorsement of $200,000 that they say they would give him if he signed his contract. So there is some level of circumventing the salary cap at some point with the Clippers. They are not completely innocent of that in Steve Ballmer's time. So there's certain things, right? You got fraud from a company, and then you also have the fact that Steve Ballmer has been fined by the NBA for doing that with DeAndre Jordan's contract.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you that, not to say just because they did that this is what happened, but their hands are not totally clean. It's happened to them before. They got in trouble. But yes, I think you do have to take that into account, that this particular company was just really kind of fraudulent from the get-go. And the question is, did they kind of fool the Clippers as well? Or was it not really necessarily known that it was a fraudulent company, but did we just have this, so-and-so company be, an endorser of all these, celebs and athletes? And it just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, because it's definitely something smells rotten, but we'll just see if it really was where the Clippers were really and Kawhi Leonard were fooled or not,
Yeah, for sure. And to me, it still takes me back to like Uncle Dennis, right? And think about his time in San Antonio. What happened there, right? There was a mysterious quad injury and how severe it was. You had Tony Parker come out and say, "I had the same injury, and I'm back," right? And that was kind of where Kawhi pretty much shut down, and the rest of the team was, especially Uncle Dennis and Kawhi's team were just completely done with San Antonio and wanted to get out of there by then. And then you have him kind of talking to the Toronto Raptors and how he negotiated some of that. So it is kind of interesting to see, there has been precedent, right? This has happened before, and it's the Joe Smith case with Minnesota. And essentially, when Joe Smith was a free agent in 1998, 3 years after he was drafted, he signed a 1-year deal with Minnesota, which was surprising already because you're having he wasn't necessarily a superstar, didn't kind of lead up or live up to those expectations yet, but he probably deserved more than a 1-year deal. But it was found that he agreed with Minnesota on the side that he would sign 3 1-year deals and then give Minnesota his bird rights so he can sign a deal for up to $87 million. David Stern came down heavy on that. Mm-hmm. He fined Minnesota $3.5 million. Glenn Taylor and Kevin McHale were suspended for a year. Joe Smith's contracts were voided, and they were stripped of 5 first-round draft picks, which eventually 2 of those picks were given back because of how severe the punishments were. But David Stern did not play about the integrity of the league, and he came down hard on them. So what are your thoughts if this does come true? What do you think about Adam Silver and his response would be in the NBA?
That's definitely something to think about. We know a commissioner like David Stern, he did not put up with this kind of stuff, and he would have, if it's found to be true somewhat, I think he would have brought the hammer. Remains to be seen what will happen with Adam Silver, if it's as bad as it sounds at this point. It is interesting kind of going back to Joe Smith, because when you start thinking about punishments and things like that, the only thing you can really look at is just past violations. And so this one's different, but it is still a kind of contract violation. So Joe Smith, yeah, he was a first pick in the draft, Golden State Warriors. Had a decent 2.5 years, but I was reading that he actually turned down like 80+ million. So keep in mind, during this time, that was kind of more of like the close to the max. And so yeah, it's pretty crazy that he took a pretty big gamble too, like a couple of years of $1 million deals. Like, I mean, what if something were to happen to him? So it's all crazy how that all went down. But it does go to show that that is a big problem, and it could come back to haunt them. I know they already don't have a lot of draft picks, but I assume it would be something down the line. And then kind of just to touch on Kawhi, he's always just kind of does his own thing, right? And beats to his own drum. And he's obviously when he's been out there, he's a great player, won a couple championships. But ever since that time in San Antonio, the way he kind of got to Toronto, the way he treated the free agency, how he's really, what he's done with the Clippers, not playing a lot of games, sitting out, really disappointing. And so, yeah, it's all just kind of come to head here. And he's got probably a couple solid years left in his career, but I just wonder what's going to happen if suspensions are in order, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that, right? Like how his career has unfolded, especially since he won the championship in Toronto, is almost, it can be career legacy ruining, right? Because there's a point when he was on top at Toronto and became that free agent, he's the top 3 player in this league, right? And Kawhi was just in high demand from every team. So now you're questioning, all right, he's had his issues with it seems like he has his own team and he's going to go by his rules, especially when it comes to injuries and especially when it comes to how he manages his endorsement deals and everything like that. And so I think you're coming to a head right now where you're like, hey, this is the NBA and these are the rules. And if you're not really following those, might be a time that you might not be in this league, right? There can be some things that, if they're found guilty in these, he could be suspended, right? It could be one of those scenarios. I did look up whether or not what would happen in the NBA right now if they had some of these contract issues. And they said basically in the CBA with the unauthorized agreements, if it's the first violation, there can be a fine up to $4.5 million. They can forfeit one first-round draft pick, and contracts or transactions can be voided by the league. Now, if it's second violation, which I don't know where Ballmer and the Clippers kind of fall under, if this
might be the
considered a second violation, the fine would be up to $7.5 million. A suspension up to 1 year for any team personnel that is found kind of willfully engaged in these violations. And the contracts can be avoided again as well. And then they can forfeit multiple draft picks.
Wow. Yeah, that's great research because from first occurrence to second occurrence, it's pretty steep. And since Clippers, believe that they had the one occurrence, yeah, we don't know if it's the same ownership group. I would imagine if it was a different ownership, it might be different, but different story, but it is the same. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things, especially if the contract gets voided. Maybe Clippers would be happy about that. Who knows? But but all those fines and suspensions and all that and just bad press, bad pub, that wouldn't be good.
Eric, could you imagine this scenario? I'll give you this scenario right now. The Clippers are the oldest team in the NBA. Actually, oldest team in the history of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Say all this is true. Kawhi's contract gets voided. The personnel is suspended for a year. And they lose, say, 3 to 5 draft picks, first-round draft picks. Now, even if this scenario didn't happen, you're already looking at this team you're going all in with James Harden and Kawhi and Bradley Beal. You got a 2-year window max. And then after that, you essentially don't have any draft picks from the Paul George trade with SGA. Could you imagine losing 3 to 5 more draft picks and how bad the Clippers would be for the next decade?
Yeah, it would be could be franchise changing, but because I know the Clippers kind of have the similar plan with the Lakers. In 2 years, everybody's going to be off the books, and they look to be a big player in free agency. But try telling a free agent to come to you when you don't have any draft picks for 5 years, right? That's going to be a challenge in itself. So for the Clippers brass, Clipper fans, just I guess the league in general, hopefully this isn't as bad as it sounds, and hopefully they find that I don't know, it to be just a big coincidence, because I do see some steep punishment if it is found to be true. So we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, time will tell. I know the Clippers brass came out with full denial. They've done everything by the book, and what are they supposed to say? Yes, we did it. So obviously you're going to get that generic statement, that PR statement saying that they have nothing to do with it. Time will tell, and the NBA will investigate it, and then we'll find out probably within the next couple months, I would assume.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. If you don't say anything, you're going to seem guilty. If you obviously say that you're guilty, it's not going to be good. And so, but I do know that if you have like a real big denial like that and it's found to be true, I think it's going to look worse for them. So see what happens. Like you said, next couple months.
Yeah, for sure. And if everybody out there on the live on YouTube or Twitter, you guys have any comments on the situation, let us know. We'll answer them by the end of the show. Just give us a feedback on the Kawhi situation and what you guys think about it. We do have one comment right here. We got a show here
Oh,
because this is our man Cam.
oh, Cam,
Hey,
what's
Doc,
up, man?
laying in the ER waiting for surgery.
Oh
Cam,
no.
I'm sorry to hear that. I hope everything is going to go well and smooth with you, and it's nothing too serious. All right, Cam, thanks for listening from the
Yeah.
ER.
Hey.
That's a true dedicated fan, and we hoping nothing but the best for you, man.
Yeah, Cam. If there was one night that we would understand you not listening is tonight, and we say that tongue in cheek. For real though, hopefully you're doing all right and feel better. And I know you believe are a Broncos fan, so expecting some big things. Wink, wink for them this year. Maybe
Bandwagon.
not.
Okay. All right.
Anyways,
So that's a good segue to our next topic is the NFL.
yeah. Let's
Obviously,
get to some real topics. Let's get to some fun stuff.
yes, the NFL will be back tomorrow, guys. So you
Man,
guys have
can't
been
wait.
waiting all summer long, all spring long, and we have the Eagles and the Cowboys tomorrow night, which is gonna be fun because obviously what happened with Jerry's World and Micah Parsons, so there's all that drama. And then you also have the champs trying to defend their title. So, Eric, I thought we would at least get into some predictions for the season, at least look at the divisions from the AFC and NFC, and then see what wild cards we have for each of those conferences as well. And then we'll finish with a Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Something to keep in mind, guys, that I was looking at. And so if you're trying to think of the teams that you expect to make it next year. So this will be the 5th season of the current structure with the playoffs. So 7 teams from each conference. So we'll see what happens, obviously, with last year's teams. But the first 3 years, the following year, 6 to 7 teams that made the playoffs one year did not make it the very next year, if that makes sense. So it's either 6, 7. So it was 6, 7, then 6. So what I'll be
wait. 6, 7. If you guys get that reference,
6, 7, 6, 6, 7, 6.
Go ahead. I'm just trying to keep up with the young kids, but okay.
Yeah, yep. So while we're picking our teams, I know I'm going to be thinking about. I damn well better have at least 5, 6 teams that weren't in the playoffs last year, because it's going to happen. We know the NFL. We have our top teams, but after that, it's there's definitely a little bit of parity, and you got teams that'll just jump out of nowhere. And so we'll see if we got some surprise picks in there.
Yes, sir. All right. So let's start off with the AFC, and I'll just give my division winners right off the bat. For that. Okay. So I got the AFC East. Those Buffalo Bills dominating the division. So they're coming out of there. For my AFC North pick, it is the Ravens. For AFC South, this is probably the surprise pick here, but it is Colts and Danny Dimes returning to a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield type of style. And then we have the AFC West, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, because I'm never going to pick against them winning that damn division.
Yeah, I know. We talked about like picking new teams, and it's just a little bit tough. Nope. AFC is just stacked. It's tough to choose a 7. But yeah, so I'll start with you. AFC East. It pains me to say it as a really big Miami Dolphins fan. You gotta beat the champs to be the champs. Barring any injuries, I can't see anybody else other than Buffalo winning that division. And then if we go to the AFC North, actually, I'm gonna go kind of going somewhere else. I'm gonna go Cincinnati Bengals, and AFC North, which will be a bit of that'll be one team that didn't make it last year. And then the AFC South, Duval. Is that what? Duval? Is that what the guy was saying?
Duval.
I'm going to go Jacksonville Jaguars to take the AFC South. No rhyme or reason, just gut feeling. And then, yeah, I'm going to just have to go with the Chiefs in the West for sure.
That was easy. Yeah, I mean, I think what that shows us, at least for the AFC, is that we don't know who the hell is coming out of the AFC South. Okay. I do feel like
Houston's a favorite, but
Houston is the favorite, but that division is going to be like a 500 division where there's probably going to be multiple. And I can
like
even
always.
see, I can even see Tennessee being okay and being within the division race, just because there's no real threat. I think Houston has kind of downgraded their team, to be honest with you. They lost Stephon Diggs, they lost Joe, pretty much more than likely Joe Mixon's not going to play a lot of the season. And lost the offensive lineman, and so I don't think they're as good as they've been. So I think that division is definitely up for grabs.
Yeah, with the winner probably being 9-7, that'll probably tell you that it's just as usual. It's probably going to be the one team making it to the playoffs from that division. Whoever ends up winning it, I would say.
For sure. All right, so for my AFC wildcard teams, I have those Cincinnati Bengals, because I do think they're going to make the playoffs this year. As long as they can stop somebody on defense and protect Joe Burrow, they definitely make the playoffs. Then we got the little Denver cute team. I know everybody's on them right now. I do believe they should make the playoffs. I think that AFC West is just going to be a gauntlet, because I think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. That's my third team is the Chargers. So I think 3 of the teams are going to come out of the AFC West. And I do think even Oakland is going to be – I'm sorry. Did I already say Oakland? Las Vegas Raiders are going to be even damn contenders in this division as well. Because you got such great coaches in there. You got Pete Carroll, obviously, Andy Reid, and then you got Sean Payton. So you got all these guys, and obviously Jim Harbaugh. So you got 4 guys that are just stud coaches. So likely you're going to get at least 3 teams from that division.
Yeah, it's tough. You got about 7-8 teams to take up about 3 spots. Maybe who gets second in the AFC South might be battling. You got the Steelers, obviously the Ravens, got the Chargers, Broncos, maybe the upstart Raiders, who I think might still be. I think that I could see him getting 6-7 wins, maybe 8. But I'm gonna have to go with Ravens as a wild card since I had Bengals winning the division. I'm gonna have to go Chargers, which I'm Denver and Chargers. I think one of them are gonna make it, and one of them are gonna be staying home. It's gonna be one of those. It could come down to last couple of games of the season, and I'm gonna do a little homer pick. I'm sorry, I have to. I think the number 7 team, I think nobody's really talking about them. And I think I like that as a Dolphin fan. Not much expectation. I'm going to put Miami as the 7 seed in the AFC playoffs. Tua. Yeah.
Eric, I know you're a homer. But if the Dolphins make the playoffs, I mean,
I'm going to actually real quick. So the Chargers play at Denver, okay. Cam, week 18 it is. That'll be for a playoff spot. Loser goes home.
Yeah.
Miami will be in there.
I can see Denver possibly not making the playoffs just because they're so hyped this offseason. I can see them falling apart a little bit, and not really leading up to the hype. I just don't think it would be Dolphins. However, there is one common theme that we have here, and that's the Steelers not making the playoffs, Eric, with Aaron Rodgers. Is that why do you not have them in?
There's the death taxes and Steelers being a game or 2 above 500 and making the playoffs, right? That's typical. I think they're going to be there. Defensively, they'll be sound. I just think they're in a tough division, tough schedule. I think they'll be right there, but just something tells me, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, the last few years, obviously 1 year being injured, his last year with Green Bay and then last year with the Jets. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we haven't seen it in about 4 years. And so that's what I'm thinking, that it's just going to be tough. And so they're going to win some games. I think just naturally it's the Steelers. They're going to be a tough out, but I see them on the outside looking in when it's all said and done.
Yeah, agreed. I just don't think it's going to be a fit. I know everybody wants to make it a fit. I just don't see Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers a fit. And I think they are going to be horrendous on offense. I just don't think they have the talent. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah.
They don't have a running back. They traded for DK Metcalf, got rid of Pickens. They don't have a second receiver. They might have some tight ends. And one of the worst reasons I think they're going to be bad is Arthur Smith is their OC.
Oh boy.
I just don't think, and I think we were talking before after last season is, what did Pittsburgh have to do differently? I felt like obviously you're not going to fire Tomlin. I mean, he's done nothing but an amazing job, but I thought they needed to get younger and open-minded offensive coordinators, some that can air it out, just different schemes, totally young guy, and they go out and have Arthur Smith as their OC. And we all know what happened in Atlanta. And I still don't know what kind of offense that he got hyped for in Tennessee, because I didn't think they were a great offensive team in Tennessee.
So Smash Mouth, like
everybody talked about how Tennessee's offense. Yeah, it was just Derrick Henry. That was Tennessee's offense.
Give him the ball.
Don't tell me they were a great team. It was just Derrick Henry. So I don't see them being that type of that team, that explosive offensive team. And then you got Aaron Rodgers, who's used to having a team that he can air it out and spread out the team. And you got a guy that just wants to really run the ball and have two tight end lineups. So I just don't see it working at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes out really bad.
Yep. I could see that too. So we'll see. We got this recorded. Maybe I'll jot it down. We'll get back to it at the end of the season. And obviously as the season goes, we know there's going to be some ups and downs to our picks and for everyone's picks. So we'll see. What about the NFC?
All right. So let's get to the NFC. You want to do yours first with this one?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm going to just look here. So if I start with the NFC East, so I got to tell you something. This is why I'm picking this. So it's been since 2004 since there's been a repeat NFC East champion. So I'm sticking with it. So Eagles, remember, they did make the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and they were very competitive against Kansas City, and they had a little bit of a rough year the next year. There's no rhyme or reason for it, but sometimes those hangovers are real. And so I'm going to go with the Commanders of Washington, DC, to win the NFC East. The North, sorry to say, but I'm just going to go with the champ from the last couple of years. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. NFC South, going to stick with the same team there, the Tampa Bay Bucks. NFC West, I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. And those are my division winners.
All right. Yeah, I remember that stat with the NFC East, and I was like, I almost I did forget about like how long it's been, but I remember hearing that last year. We're like, damn, they actually there's never a repeat division champion.
It's gonna happen, obviously, at some point. So it might be this year.
This year is going to happen because I got the Eagles coming out of the NFC East. For the NFC North, I have the Green Bay Packers. Yes, I am a Green Bay Packer fan, but with the trade for Micah Parsons and the Packers going all in on this squad, them being the youngest team for the third year in a row, which means they have grown together and they're starting to build that core. I think it's their time to shine. I feel like Detroit lost both coordinators, offensive and defensive, and I think that is always a recipe for a down year. And then Minnesota, to me, just doesn't have a proven quarterback with JJ McCarthy yet, so I really can't put them up there. And with Chicago, they pretty much have a new coach, and it's going to take a little while for that system to be implemented. Now, the NFC South, I got the surprise team of the year,
Falcons.
the Carolina
Ooh!
Don't be surprised by the end of this year if Bryce Young has completely turned everybody around. When he got benched last year, obviously is a humbling experience. But after he reclaimed his job, essentially threw for more than one touchdown every single game. He started getting that offense churning and really getting that offense in a whole new direction. And I feel like going into this year, they added a stud wide receiver. They got a great running back. And I feel that he will take this offense to another level. And they'll be one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL this year. And I also just feel that division is up for grabs. Like it could be Tampa, it could be Falcons.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think the Saints have a chance, but I think those three teams do for sure. And then for my NFC West winner, it's the Niners, man. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL, and they have always rebounded after a bad year. So that's not going to surprise me. I think I can't trust the Rams yet because I don't know what I'm getting out of Stafford.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was trying to pick my playoff teams, again, it was a fight of a few teams, but one thing that stood out was that San Francisco 49ers schedule. Man, it has got 11, 12 wins written all over it, at least. And so, things happen. You have like a Carolina there who might be better than expected, as you mentioned. And there's always some teams there that you think it's a shoe-in W and they're just a lot better than predicted. So it doesn't mean anything, but I do see a bounce back from San Fran. So that's definitely one of my wild card teams. So we could just kind of jump into that. One of the toughest decisions for the division was Detroit and Green Bay, because I think Detroit potentially could be in for a down year. They're one of those teams that really they're solid now. And I think last year they really disappointed in the playoffs, and something like that does at times spill over. But I just kind of I went with them, obviously. But because of that, I do go with Green Bay as a wild card team. And then I have the Philadelphia Eagles as my third wild card team. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the three I have. I actually myself had kind of like that Carolina, Atlanta as a little bit of a wild card for the wild card. But those are my teams going into this year.
Yeah, those are solid choices. For me, I have the Commanders as a wild card. I think Jaden Daniels and then boys will be playing pretty well. I also have the Lions, right? You had them as division winner. I just have them in the wild card. And then my last one, I think will come to a surprise for pretty much everybody. But I got Jerry's Cowboys. I got the Cowboys, man. I feel like I'm not saying like everybody wants to write them off because of everything that's happened, especially just Jerry in general. But we got to remember that when Dak Prescott is healthy and that offense is churning, he's a pretty damn good quarterback. They traded for Pickens, and so you put Pickens next to CeeDee Lamb, which is going to make CeeDee Lamb better. They still have Jake Ferguson. I would say their run game is probably going to be the most questionable, but I think they'll find a way to get one of those backs or have multiple backs kind of contributing there. And I think Schottenheimer, that's what he is. He's offensive coordinator, right? So I think getting that offense to flow will be good. And if they can just get some more defense, I think they can be a surprise team in the NFC. And also just think the NFC is pretty weak in general. So I got 3 teams coming out of the NFC East this time.
Who's the coach again? Yeah, that kind of that kind of tells me
why you got to disrespect my man.
My man, Schottenheimer. Well, I'll do say this. So they got Philly. It's gonna be tough. Then they got the Philly. Then they got the Giants, Chicago, Green Bay, Giants again, Carolina, Arizona in there. So they need to have a quick start, because it just does get a little kind of daunting and towards the kind of middle second half of the season. So, I don't anticipate them, having a great year like a lot of people, but it seems like when you expect a lot out of Dallas, they don't come through. And when you don't expect much, they surprise people. So
like, don't be surprised if they win tomorrow night and Jerry's on the field, like cheering. You know how Jerry would get, what Jerry would be doing when he'll be dapping up everybody, acting like he won the game.
Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So to
get that championship.
Don't be surprised if something like that happens tomorrow night.
The funny thing is, you don't have my Super Bowl pick even making the playoffs.
Oh, shit.
Spoiler alert.
Oh. Well, Eric, let's get right into the Super Bowl. So since I don't have your pick making the playoffs, now I can't think of who it is. But yeah, go ahead with your playoff prediction.
Super Bowl?
Yep. I mean, Super Bowl.
All right. Super Bowl, what is it? 60?
Are we?
Hold on. Super Bowl.
No, 50.
Is it 60? Yeah, Super Bowl 60. 6-0. LX. Santa Clara, California. So I'm going to have a team that from the AFC that has just come so close year after year. Haven't made the Super Bowl in a long, long time. This might be the year. If they don't make it, I think the head coach could be bye-bye. Hello, Belichick. Anyways, that's another thought. Go North Carolina. How about them Tar Heels? Anyways, I got the Buffalo Bills against the Los Angeles Rams. Super Bowl 6-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I don't think you had the Rams there, right?
I do not have the Rams in the playoffs. So that is definitely going to be a pretty interesting pick. And if it happens, I think it'll be a good one. For me, it did boil down to 2 teams for the AFC. And Buffalo is one of those teams because I feel like Buffalo is a team that's just on the cusp. They're either going to be like, the Indiana Pacers or those Knicks squads that just couldn't get by the Bulls, and they just never get by until the Chiefs are completely done and Mahomes is not there, or they just make that stride. But for me, it was between 2 teams, Bills and the Ravens. And I feel like it's the Ravens this year are going to be able to get by the Chiefs and get by the Bills. I know Lamar has struggled in the playoffs, and it's so unfortunate to see. But I feel like this year will be the year when you look at offensively how they are, defensively. I think they have everything what they need to get to the final. To the Super Bowl, and so I got them there. In my NFC, I got the returning champs in the Super Bowl.
Okay,
I got the Eagles. So I got Ravens, Eagles, and to win the Super Bowl, I'll just go ahead and say mine. I got the Ravens. Lamar holding up the trophy.
Yeah, looks like we're kind of on the same pathway in the AFC in terms of just maybe a little Chiefs fatigue. So you got to figure there's one of those years that one of these teams that have been chomping at the bits kind of breaks through. And so it all depends on seeding and things like that, where teams face each other. So I can see either one of those 2 or a surprise team, or hell, even the Chiefs again. But I do have Buffalo ultimately winning their first ever Super Bowl, kind of solidifying Josh Allen's kind of his career, his legacy. See it being a pretty good game, obviously, against the Rams. And yeah, I mean, and the NFC is just kind of gut filling. Matt Stafford, that has a big, that looms large, obviously, right? His health. And so it's not always this simple. Believe me, I know it's not. There's so much that goes to it, but I'm like, there's one team that really gave Philly the run for their money, and they're about a play away from beating Philly last year. And again, that doesn't probably mean much the following season, but I love their defense. It's a year older, wiser. They, signed Devontae Adams. It's just all about Matthew Stafford and see if he can stay healthy. But either way, I think it'd be a tremendous Super Bowl, whether if it's Baltimore, Philly, or Buffalo and the Rams.
Yeah, no, those are good points on the Rams because they were a play away from getting the Super Bowl in the snow as well, right? So,
yep.
If they have more of a home field advantage or they handle business the regular season, that will help them kind of being at home at SoFi. And you're right, though. Their defense was young and very good last year, and that means they brought back everybody for the most part, and they're just another year wiser, and that could be a good thing. And yeah, they're offensively, having Devontae Adams is going to help, and then having Kyron Williams, they have all the offensive talent and the offensive coach to get there. To me, it just, being a physical therapist and kind of always talking about the injuries, it's Matthew Stafford thing for me that it's hard for me to make that as a prediction right now. Now, if
Yep.
6 weeks from now you see that he's balling and he's looking good and he's withstanding all the hits, then yeah, they definitely can be Super Bowl contenders.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just kind of banking on the whatever Rams are saying and preaching for it to be true, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Got a long season ahead. Super excited. We know there's going to be some ups and downs for some of those top teams, and we know that there's going to be a few teams that we probably didn't even mention that are going to be right in the thick of things, maybe making the playoffs, maybe going on a deep run. And so that's what makes the NFL and football so fun, is that when you have, even though you have, like, we had a run with the Patriots, we have a run now with the Chiefs, there still is that element of surprise.
100%, man. So great show tonight, Eric. And we will have, obviously, football back tomorrow. So we will be doing a quick recap of the game tomorrow, pretty much right after the game ends. And then get a little show in tomorrow. And then we'll have our next show Sunday night, which will recap all the games on Sunday. And obviously, we never want to see injuries, but injuries are a part of football. And we'll be recapping those on Sunday night as well. So, Eric, anything else before we leave?
Just, I can't wait. Can't wait for tomorrow. Sounds like you got the Cowboys, right?
Oh, yeah. I think there's going to be an upset. I think it's one of those where you got the champs there, and it's hard when they get the rings and the banners and all that stuff. And I think there's just been so much negativity towards Dallas. The only thing they can do is galvanize and come together as a team and just try to dominate. So I can see them kind of winning tomorrow, and that could spur some hope in this team and kind of getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically you do see some struggle from the defending champs. It's just one of those nights, and so that's possible. So that's why I see it being closer than it maybe would be later in the year. But I think Eagles will ultimately prevail in a tight one, and so yeah, let's see what happens, and we'll chat about it tomorrow night.
Sounds good. So anybody on here, please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube. Make sure you hit the notifications because we'll be having shows Sunday night, Tuesday, Thursday for football season. So recapping injuries, recapping kind of fantasy adjustments that you got to make, and then obviously anything that happens in the NBA as well. And then as soon as the NBA season starts, we'll be all over it. So all right, guys, from the Hoops Rehab team, we are now out tonight, but we will see you tomorrow. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.